Welcome to part 2 of the Fix My Shaper series. In part 1 I made this little thing, and at the end it should look like this little thing. And if you didn't see part 1, this is gonna be a new block for the cranckpin, the sliding block in fact, for the shaper of course. And my future sliding block is now roughed out and square. I left it a little bit oversized just to be able to finish it later. And so now I'm ready to start drilling this 25mm hole here in the center that I already made. And my first idea was to drill it here in the milling machine, of course pre-drill, and then use my 23mm drill bit, and then after using the boring head. But because of this side of my drill bit doesn't fit in the chuck, I have to use it in a colored, what I don't like to do, especially in bronze and brass, because it's too grabby. And also the boring head, I think it's gonna take too long. It will be much easier to do it in the lathe, because in this chuck my drill bit fits perfectly fine, so that will be easy. But first, of course, let's install the part here in the chuck. And this is where now I am very happy that I didn't finish the sides, because of course the jaws, they're gonna leave indents in the surface, but we'll see what happens. I already took a few little very tiny test cuts in here with my little boring bar, and this is the typical insert for steel, and it gives a very nice finish, but maybe it will give a better finish if I use one for aluminium. Let's try. Yep, much better. Because the only measuring tool I have to measure the bore in here is my calipers, and I have also another pair of calipers. Now this thing is good, it's even very good, but for what I'm doing here I don't think it will be precise enough. So I think the best thing to do is to take the crank pin out of the bull gear so I can do a test fit. With this thing I will feel a lot safer. For the moment this hole is 24 and I need of course 25. And I will take small cuts every time as if it was a finishing cut. Let's do this. It wants to go in there, but this is more a press fit than a sliding fit. That's not good. And as you can see, I did only a test cut on 3mm here, not even, maybe 2.5. Right, give it a tiny bit more. Yep, let's take the final cut. I think it came out very well because it is spinning freely, really nice, and there is absolutely no wiggle in whatever position I hold it. So perfect. Now that I know that I didn't screw up this bore here, let's continue. Next step is, for example, making this funnel shape in here. And I have to drill it 5mm, and then I thought maybe use this thing, but it's not the same angle, and I think if I use this, the funnel is going to be too deep and there will be not enough meat left between the bore and the bottom of my funnel thing here. So I think the best option is the lathe again. To install the top slide at the right angle, I used a highly scientific method. I took my original part, put it on here, and it holds. And then with my little scale that I hold in the funnel idea opening here, and then eyeball this angle with the angle of the top slide. Shit. And I installed my internal thread cutting tool in a weird angle, and let's make a funnel. A tiny bit more. I think the funnel thing worked really well. And now it's time to start drilling these oil ports that of course come out in the bore here. And they are in an angle. What I wanted to do is to drill them in one go, because they are one in face of each other. So that's good. And of course I don't have the right drill bit, a long drill bit to do this. So it will be in 4 times and not 2. And as you can see, my part is already installed here in the vise. And to figure out the angle, I installed this tiny little drill bit in the chuck, and then I slided my part over it, and then I tightened the vise. And then with my figure out the angle thing here, I figured out the angle, and of course I copied on my new part. And because I have to start drilling in an angled surface with this tiny little drill bit, that won't work. I have here some kind of ball end mill to make a pre-drill hole, and let's see if it works. This thing doesn't cut. Let's find something else. Right, I have here a 3mm, I think, yeah, 4 flute little end mill. And I know I'm not supposed to install end mills in a drill chuck, but I don't care. First I will give it a touch of center drill, because of course the bottom of the pre-hole here isn't flat. Perfect. Right, I'm gonna do this 3 more times, but I'm not gonna bore you with it, of course. Drilling holes, you know. And these are the 4 holes drilled. And now, of course, on the inside here, there are burrs. And I think I'm gonna try to take them off with my cheapy Dremel clone here. I installed a very soft little grinding stone. I think it's gonna be too soft, but I prefer too soft because otherwise with the rotation forces this thing is gonna pull one way and maybe it's gonna risk mess up the surface inside here. And of course I did also a little bit of test cut here on my rest of the bronze, and it seems to work just fine, so let's give it a go. I think deburring the thing worked surprisingly well, because as you can see, it still fits and it still spins. You never know if a little tiny burr or whatever is stuck between, but here it's perfect. And so now I shall mill the size, shall mill, whatever. And I'm doing it this way because now I can cut both faces in one setup. So at the end, normally these two sides should be as square and as parallel as the machine can get it. And to reduce the risk of bozo, I measured the original part with my calipers, and because it's electronic, of course, I take the measurement and then I put it the 0. So in theory, after cutting, and my thing here indicates 0, I should be spot on. but I'm gonna stop a tiny bit above 0 and then finish with my C-clamp measuring tool, of course. I stopped cutting for a moment because, yes, there is a problem. Who would have thought? Now, when I installed my part and I touched off, I saw that my cutter was first touching on the underside of my part. Then, of course, after cutting, it's straight, no problem. But it also did it on the other face. First touch on the underside, the under rim of the part. That doesn't make any sense. And now that I'm cutting and I start to take measurements, I felt that my calipers didn't seat very well on these two surfaces. And then I take my C-clamp here and it's the same. When I put it on, can take a measurement, but it's wiggling. That doesn't make any sense. And then I think I found out what's wrong. The thickness here on top, here for the moment I am at plus 12. So 1/10 and a little bit to go, plus 12. The underside I am at plus 1. Which means that my cutter here is maybe a little bit in a taper, or it's not perfectly in line with the machine. You know, if the underside is wobbling a bit, it will cut more than on the top. Which means find another cutter. Okay, I hope now I found something. I gave the backside face here on the, of course, this side a little touch with this cutter, but it doesn't leave a nice finish and there's a lot of chatter. So took it out again and now I installed the 12mm 6 flute, but it's a roughing end mill. So what I think I'm gonna do, if the finish isn't good, is do a spring pass, but move the table a tiny bit up or down, so this thing will take out the lines. Let's see. Before I do a spring pass, first let's take a measurement, so after I can see the difference between before and after. Here I am 3/100ths oversize, and below here two and a half 100ths oversize. So we're getting more or less parallel here. That's good. Let's continue. According to this thing, I am now 1/100th oversize, and that is on different points, so not only in the middle, I measured a bit everywhere, and 1/100th. And the lines, you can see them more than you can feel them, so I think it's good. So after a little bit of hand polishing on the surface plate, it will be perfect. And here it is, both sides nice and parallel. But does it fit in this green thing here? Yep, perfect. So I suppose all that's left to do now is to cut these little oil grooves in here. Again, milling machine. To cut oil grooves, normally we use a ball and mill so that the groove itself is a little bit rounded. And of course, I don't have a ball and mill. And that's why I installed my part at 45 degrees with my 45 degrees thing here, of course. And I will cut it with a 10 millimeter end mill, and so it will be a V groove. Because I think the oil doesn't care much if it has to pass in a rounded groove or in a V groove. Now it will be a little bit rounded because this is an end mill with the cut off corners. So let's oil groove. No measurement, just eyeball and cut. That looks good. I am really happy with the result. As you can see, the fit on the crank pin is perfect. There's absolutely no movement. And the fit of these two faces here in the rocker arm is also perfect. So that's good. And all this without cheating, because here's the rest of the bronze part I had. So as you can see, I didn't have to start again. And I also think it looks really close to the original one. Now that's not important because it will be inside my machine here, but for me it is. Now I have to stop this video right here because of course I have to stop this video right here. And if you want to see the assembly of the shaper in detail, let me know in the comments. Otherwise I just throw it together and find another topic for a video.